Hey, hi everybody. It's Monica again. This is part two of the original live stream I was trying to do, where I was trying to show you how to go from having a survey spec to actually having a programmed in survey. I'm sorry, I forgot to turn my phone off. A completely programmed in survey into a survey software like SurveyMonkey. That's what I was demonstrating with SurveyMonkey. And why did I stop my live stream? Because SurveyMonkey like crashed. It like stopped responding. So SurveyMonkey is an online app, and because it crashed, I was like, what could I do? Right. So I edited the stream and then I went and did something, and now it seems to be back up. So let's continue. Now, just to remind you what I was doing, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to share the spec with you. So in our last live stream, I had already made the spec for a simple survey. It's mainly because I started doing these live streams and I don't really know what topics people want. So I wanted to do a survey that way anyway. And but I thought I'd take the opportunity to create a few different types of questions and program them into SurveyMonkey in front of you because I wanted to show you not only what you have to think about with these different question formats, but also what the data looks like when it comes out. It looks different depending on the question format. And something that I emphasized in the last live stream, and I'll remind everybody about now, is that it doesn't really matter what survey software you use. Like you could use Qualtrics or RedCap; those are the ones I was talking about. As long as it's survey software, you don't want to have forms or like Google Forms or anything. You want survey software with those features in it. And as long as it doesn't matter which one you use, but you should get good at it. And you should and in getting good at it, you should also like choose one that you invest in with your business. Like if you have a business, if you're like mine, if you're working at like a university, usually the university will endorse like either SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics or the you know what I mean. They'll pick something. Sometimes they don't. But in any case, you want to, if you work at a university or another organization, you want to try to use their account. You don't have to pay. But I have a small business, so I set it up with SurveyMonkey, and so that's what I've been using, and that's what I try to use with my customers. If unless they want to use something else, and so I'm better with the vocabulary in SurveyMonkey. But regardless of whether you use that or Qualtrics or whatever, you have to make a spec, or you don't really know what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to go back to SurveyMonkey and continue demonstrating here. Uh, let's see, where did I go? Okay, so last we in last part of live stream, part one, I guess I'll call it. I was showing you how all of these things work, right? So this is how you go back and forth. Like this is where we design the survey, and this is where we previewed the survey. And this preview, it didn't collect any data. But then I showed you how, now remember, this is an online anonymous survey. And so I have this link here called test for one of the collectors, remember, explain collectors and live. And so what I did, I filled out one of the surveys here. Um, so now I'm going to copy this link again, and I'm going to fill out another one here. Let's see here. Now I'm going to switch to that. Uh, oh, it says survey not found. Let's see here. Copy URL. I must have copied it wrong here. Why isn't this happening? Okay. For some reason, it's not letting me go in here. I think it might be. Let's see. Edit collector. Oh, let me. Are you not seeing what I'm doing here? Oh, great. Now we have this. Uh, Let me see here. Let me show you what is going wrong here. I already took the survey once. So this multiple responses is off. And it's so only allow the server to be taken once from the same device. So allow the survey to be taken more than once from the same device. I'm doing this on test. I'm not going to do that on live. I just want to do that so I can test it, okay? Because that's why the survey wasn't up. Let me see here. Okay, this time it came up. So let me go and share the screen with you. Okay, so now we're going to fill in our test survey. So last time I filled it in. I pretended I was a public health person from one of my personas. That's what from my audience. Now I'm going to pretend I'm a new data science learner. Like those are people who haven't had a job before. This is their first time. So, in which following software application are you trying to? Often these new people are trying to learn like everything. Usually not SAS, but Python, SQL, probably not SPSS. They usually aren't interested in these. And then what files do you use most often? Often they're just totally using Python. Okay, so this persona, and again, I'm just filling in fake data just so I can have something to demonstrate and also show you this is a good way to test your survey. When you're filling in this fake data, think of the real people, think of real scenarios, because that's when you're going to hit real issues that your respondents might have. So this is totally what you should be doing. Okay, is pretending, making fake people and filling it out for them. So you're testing it. So, okay, so my newbie data science learner, I'll tell you what they always want is the um career planning advice and software demonstrations. And they tend to really like they tend to like educational things. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm just guessing this is what they would say. Then they'd say Python, but I don't teach Python, but I know they just love Python. Okay. So now we're done. And okay, so now I filled out 2 surveys, um, and we're going to go to back to the SurveyMonkey window, and we're on the collector details. Let's go back to the collectors here. Now you can see I have 2 responses. That's enough. So now what I'm going to do. So what we just did is I'm pretending you're on my research team with me. Is we just designed the survey. We made the spec. We programmed it in, and we put in some fake data to test it. And what this means is we really like the way it's running. It's running like it's going to run in live, and we like the way it's running. So we're pretty much done with the survey front end. Now what I'm going to show you is what I usually do. You don't have to do it right away, but I like to do it before we even deploy the survey because that's a good time to do this before you start. Like when you launch a survey, it's very hard to change it. Um, I've launched surveys before where we screwed up the Likert scale, like it said strongly agree, somewhat agree, neutral, and then strongly agree, somewhat agree. Like the agree and disagree were not like right. And you can edit the labels, it lets you, but you don't know what happened with your respondents. And so it's really important to just, I can tell you a million other things that could go wrong. It's good to just test it and make sure that it works and make sure it's getting you the data you want, because the whole point of SurveyMonkey and these surveys is to measure data, get you data that you're going to put in R or whatever. So if you don't make sure before you administer the survey that you can download the data and put it in R and make sense of it, then you don't want to deploy the survey. So this next step I do, technically you don't have to do it before you deploy the survey, but it's like if you want to be sure that you're getting the data you need, you want to do it. Okay. And what it is where you go and you kind of analyze fake data. So we're going to go to analyze results and download this fake data. Let me see if I got any questions here. Okay, I've got this person here. I'm sorry. I think there's a real chat in here somewhere. Oh, hello, Siddharth. Nice to meet you. I'm sorry that I don't have any moderators and you had to see that bomber there. But thanks for joining us. All right, so now I'm going to go back and show you. We're going to go back to okay, we're on analyze results. So I'm going to show you how I download data from SurveyMonkey. But this download process is hairy, and it's hairy in every software, but it's a little different. Okay. So remember in SurveyMonkey, we have this sort of weird menu over here. I honestly don't understand all these things in SurveyMonkey, but I know what I want, and that is this download. This arrow means download. So I'm downloading these two data points. Okay. Now, what's going to happen? See how it says export data? What's going to happen is we're going to do this export all thing, and then we're going to fill in a form that tells us how we want the data exported. And this is tough. So first of all, we have the choices. All summary data, all responsive data, all individual responses. And how are you going to know what that means even? Like, I just know from experience, I want all responses data, but I can't even tell you why. I don't even know what the other ones are. I know when I worked at a mental health program, sometimes they would do surveys where they wanted to produce a report that just had each respondent's answers on it. And so I think that's what all individual responses is, but we're going to choose all responses data. Okay. Then we get this. And so we have summary data and all responses data. We always want to be over here as because we're collecting. We don't want anything summed up. We want to sum it up ourselves. Now the choices we have here are XLS, CSV, SPSS, and PDF. And I'm telling you, I just always go with CSV. It's always just easier. As much as I like XLSX and Excel files, you could always convert a CSV to an Excel. A CSV is just easier to use. And then it says data view, current view, original view. I don't even know what that is. I leave it. Then you've got these choices. And again, this is different for every software. You just have to look in the software. So it says columns. It says condensed and expanded. And I'm telling you, when these come out with the condensed, they're still wide. I don't know what's up with them. So leave it there. Then cells. Here's where things get hairy. Do you want the actual answer text? Like, if people say SQL or Argui, do you want it to say SQL or Argui? Probably not. If you're a data scientist, you're going to want the numerical value. So what's the numerical value? Right? We didn't program that in. That's why we're doing this step, is we've got to figure out how does SurveyMonkey take our front end data, because that survey is basically a front end, and store it as back end data. We've got to figure that out, because it's making numerical values. What are they, right? And then it's going to say, it automatically makes this file name, and it's a zip file. So I'm going to show you. So zip file, of course, there's going to be multiple files in it. So I'm going to show you what comes out. So we're going to do export. And then here's what happens. It says your export is started, and it starts this. Now, you know how much trouble I had earlier in the stream because it's crashed, right? Sometimes I can't get this down. I'll just be honest with you. This has been a problem with SurveyMonkey ever since I started with it. All right. So, but now it says your export is complete, and we can download the zip file. So I'm going to download the zip file. All right. Let me go back here and see if anybody else has got any questions or anything. Okay. So I've downloaded the zip file, and now I'm going to open it, and I'm going to show you what's inside it once I get it open here. Okay, now I'm going to change to the zip file window here. Here it is. I don't know if you can see anything in there. Well, I won't show you the window, but I'll tell you what's in it. So it's zipped. All it zipped has in the zip file is a folder that says CSV. Okay, so when I open the folder, I get two CSVs. One is called collector list, and I'm actually going to open that one and show it to you. Let's see here. So this is collector list that I've opened here. And actually, let me just make this really big. Okay, remember we have two collectors and they're named test and lab. Let me make this big. See, it's assigned a collector ID to each of them. And what you'll see is that if I keep the test data collector filled with data and the live data collector filled with data, like people actually fill out the survey, and then I go to download the data, I'm going to have the test data in here and it's going to have this collector ID. And of course, that's going to be in the data. So it's important to clear the test collector before you administer it. I mean, you can always remove the test records later, but it's better to just clear it. I just clear the test collector a lot. Right now, I'm not clearing it because I'm trying to use this test data to help me understand, to curate the data. But I first wanted to show you this is what happens. So if you let's say you make an anonymous survey and you want to send it out on social media. You want it from Facebook or from Twitter, from maybe you have multiple Twitter accounts, whatever. You can make a collector for each and then you have a link for each and you just use that link. The respondents don't know. And easily you can download the whole data as one data set and just look at that column, which I'll show you next. I'll show you the other the um the other spreadsheet that comes in with that. Let me open it up here. And that's your real data, right? So the other CSV that comes in here, I'm going to go back here and share my screen. So this is the other CSV, and this is the real data. Okay. And I'm just going to scroll, like you can't really see the whole thing. This is a short survey, so there's not that many columns. But one of the things I want you to notice is that there appears to be two rows of header column. Okay. And here are our two um, rows of data. Okay. So then, here, let me close some of these windows. So, and actually, let me make this a little bigger so we can look at the format of this data, because this is the next problem, right? So you can see that this is a CSV, and I feel like I want to format this. I can hardly read it, so I'm gonna save it. We'll do save as. Find a place to save it here. And I'll save it as fake data, maybe test data. Well, I saved it in a CSV, but I actually meant to save it as an XLS because I'm going to start editing it, right? Or I'm not editing it to keep it edited, but I'm editing it because I want to. Why did I just do this? Is I want to just see. I'm changing it now to an SLX. I just want to format it and it to hold the formatting. Because if you format a CSV, like you make things bold or whatever, it won't hold the formatting. And I just want to look at it. So I'm going to go up here. So those of you know me, I use Excel for everything. So I click up here and I'm going to make all the borders. I'm just formatting it so I can read it. And then I've got, let's see, wrap text here. Woo, that's kind of bad. Okay, let's make this a little smaller here. So you see that these are kind of wide here. That's making a wrap text like kind of not work very well here. Oops, that didn't work. Well, let me see if I can make this a little shorter here. Okay, so now it's a little bit easier to read. This is still a problem here. Let's make this one wide here. Okay, so see what I'm doing? I'm just formatting this so I can see it. And again, this is just fake data that I'm using to try to figure out the structure that SurveyMonkey is doing with these. Okay. Okay. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll let's make these a little wider. Is I'll make this bold because it's like the top. It just helps me be able to tell. Actually, remember the top two are headers, so we'll make them both. Just helps me remind me when the data actually starts. So let me show you what data fields came in here. First, we had a bunch of canned fields. Like I didn't make these. You didn't see me make these in the spec or whatever. we have this respondent ID, and this is automatically assigned. Here you can see it up here in the. This is automatically assigned by SurveyMonkey, which is kind of good. And then here's a collector ID. Remember that big number I showed you from the collector? This will say that this is the test collector. And this is the start date and end date of the, and this looks like it's local time. Remember when I set those options on the collectors to not collect the IP address? That's why this is empty. These are all empty. You can add custom data fields. You usually don't really need it. Okay, so as we go on here, here's question A1. Now remember, question A1 was multiple choices, like which of the following software applications are you currently trying to improve your skills? Select all that apply. And this was the list here. And look at these field names. You know, they're not good field names for SAS or R or anything or SPSS. But they're good field names for humans because you can see what I put, you know, R GUI, R Studio, SAS, whatever. And remember, the first person who filled this out was kind of a public health person. So they were learning R and SAS. But and so they chose those. So you can see this is kind of odd. SurveyMonkey does this, but it doesn't really bother me because I like that it makes separate column for each of them. Sometimes they don't. You have to separate. Like they'll just have a comma with all of these in one big field. It's such a pain. Um, but this separates them. It's just that it doesn't put like a one in the field when they check it. It just puts whatever number it is. So when I'm processing these things and I'm making flags and stuff later, I'm like where this is not null. I just say where it's not null, it's checked. Okay, so this indicates what was checked off in these different ones. Okay, but see this column here, there's nothing in this. Oh, this is none of the above. None of the above isn't here, I guess. So I guess if this is checked, but you see there's two different headers. This is what confused me about this. Okay, then here's A2. Which of the following software do you use most often? Remember that was the drop down box, and there's only one really answer. You know, it's and here they whatever answer that was. Then it says, please rank the following potential general live stream. Now remember, these were the 5 things that I wanted them to rank. So you can see that the public health person put academic subjects because she's busy studying that at school, and the career and the data scientist, she put career planning advice because she's trying to get a job, right? She put that one. So as you can see, that's how the data are recorded. But you know, how easy is it going to be for me to analyze it, right? You know, I could just as easily take whatever people say won the most about, but that's maybe not the right thing because I have these different segments, right? So I might look at the SAS users and see what they want because SAS users are often like public health people or healthcare somewhere. And then I might take the R GUI users and see what they want. So, but again, this is just the data. And then here's our open-ended question. Okay. So you see this fake data comes in and it's a little hairy. So, but one thing that's good is we know that we can get our data out. I know that from doing this walkthrough, I know I can figure out what collector they're from. Windstar, I probably don't need to know that. I know that I can figure out which ones were checked off here in this question, which one they chose in this question. And again, you know, 4 and 7, I assume it's the fourth one. Like the so this was response number 4 to A2. Let me look at the spec. So that should be Python. Okay. And remember how we just what am I doing here? Remember how we just filled this out. This one up here is the most recent one. This was the data scientist lady, and she wants Python, right? Because they all want Python. I don't know Python. Like, I guess I gotta learn it, right? And so I don't know. Maybe somebody's got to teach it to me. I'll make my intern teach it to me because I don't know. She owes me one. But in any case, that I can see that like it says Python here because I was kind of joking, you know, all they want is Python. But I know I chose Python here. So this helps me know how the data land. So this is a big problem in surveys. And that's why I made that big free online course, is helping you design the survey and make sure that whatever data you specify in your spec, that it's landing in your data. So now that I know that my data is landing and I can curate it, that's the next thing I do. So let me start my data curation. I'm going to go to new. I don't know what that looks like on Restream when I go and make a new file. No, I guess it doesn't look at it. So I'm going to actually, let me go back to my the test data before I stop. I just want to show you the first thing I'm going to do with this test data when I start my curation is I'm going to highlight these top two columns, the two header columns, okay? And I'm going to put copy. And then now I'm going to go to the next here, this book one. So see, this is just a blank one. So the first thing I'm going to do is first thing I'm going to do is just format this a little like I did the other ones, and do this wrap text. And I hate Calibri. I always do 0. Okay, but now I'm going to go up. I guess I'm going to go to the second one. And oh, it lost my paste. Let me go back and you saw what I highlighted. Okay, I'm going to go to the second one, and I'm going to go up to paste special. And here's what we're going to do here is we're going to paste transpose. I don't know why I just did that. And we're going to paste values. Okay. So here's what it did. It pasted the values from those first two columns, starting up here, down here. See that? And so what I usually do then, I'm going to insert a column here. I usually start and put order here, and I just do 1, 2, 3. That means I can sort it and get it back into order if I need to. And I actually will continue on because we're going to add probably to this. Oh, and I like to make this bold here. And then also I go up here, I'm clicking here. I'm going to go over view, freeze panes. That way, if I scroll down, that stays up there. Then what I usually call this is serving monkey header 1 and SM header 2. And then R variable. I usually analyze this stuff. I actually am going to name the R variables here. Okay. And I'm going to name all of them, even the ones I'm going to get rid of, because the idea is what I want to do is I want to insert a row above to replace these headers and just put these in. So onto my CSV so I can read it into R, right? Wouldn't that be nice? So I can do like this: resp ID, poll ID, sd, date, IP. And I'm just naming them so I can read them all in and get rid of them later. Email, even though they F name, L name, custom. Okay, here is where I start creating naming conventions, right? So I have, I'll probably do something like this is improved skills. Maybe I'll do SKL, none, SKL, R GUI, SKL, R student. I won't go on, but I'll show you why. Let's see here. And then we've got this one. Which one do you use right now? Probably, maybe I would call it use now. But this is, oh, and I usually call this one main. I should probably save it. So this is a data dictionary, right? So I'm going to save that here. Well, and I'm going to say data starter. I'm going to call it starter, like, yogurt starter or whatever, because I'm not going to fill in the whole thing. But this is the way I would start it. And here I put main. Over here I'd put, like, I usually create a column called values. And like here, this would be like integer But over here, like this would be this is the number that, let's see here. If this is not no, they selected. I usually put something like that there. Um, but this one, I'll put the values as being um use now or use most or something. And I usually just copy this to get the format in and then erase everything, like just delete, just so I have the format in. And then I'll have the values that I put in, which were our GUI, our studio, SAS. Remember that list? Um, so let's see here, or code 1, 2, 3, and then desk. And remember that was, well, I'm looking at my spec now. Our GUI, our studio, and SAS. And theoretically, I would fill in all of those. And then that way, when later, when I'm going to analyze the data, here, let's just make this a little wider. Um, when I go to analyze the data, I would know, like the values here, I called this use now. I know just to go over to this list and see those are the values. So whenever I have a drop down box, that's what I do. I just under values, I just make a pick list. I call it a pick list. And I just put what the values are over here. And that way, like it's really easy to analyze the data. Okay. So imagine that I had filled in, well, let's actually go through this because like here I would have to do, this one is rank. So I might do RNK software or soft demo. See, I'm using camel case. You can use however car plan RNK academic. So you fill these in. Oh, and the other thing I do is I'll put in, I keep adding variables, I keep forgetting. I'll put in source. In this one, I'll just say Survey Monkey for all these, right? Because they just came in from Survey Monkey. But that ends here. Let's say that I want to make a variable in R, like usually what I'll do is I'll redo these variables. Like I'll make a new, like I'll call this like flag, like I'll say none flag R GUI flag. And then over here for the values, I'll say like flag for none, flag for R GUI, and I'll put R here. And of course I haven't made them yet. I'm just designing them. And I'll say says 1 if they checked the box, otherwise 0. And this is like little code to myself. I might write this out more in the data dictionary if I'm sharing it with people. And I need to really communicate, but this tells me that when I get this stuff into R, I'm going to create a set of flags. I didn't even start naming them here, or I put that in the wrong place. This is where I'm naming them. Doesn't belong under here. Let's see here, flag for none. Oh, I'm putting this in the wrong place. This is the description. Let's see, our variable. I don't even have the description. Where's the description? Insert description. In a survey, you don't even need much of a description, but when you get down here, the variables you're making, you need a description. So what did I just say? Like for choosing none. GUI. And so on. And I could always sort this in a different way and then go back to the same order. But this is how I'm going to document the variables I'm going to make. And I'm just going to keep building this out. Now, what I want you to understand or imagine is, let's see here, is that imagine that you filled in all of those columns. Then what you could do is something like this. I'm going to go back to our actual fake data. Let's see here. So remember how we have like, I'm going to make this a little smaller here. We have these two headers, right? What we kind of wish we could do is go in here and insert and just copy in another set of headers that had our R variables in it, and then get rid of these, and then save this as a CSV and read it into R. Well, actually, you can do that. If you fill in all of these, like imagine all of these were filled in all the way, just down to the native variables. I'm doing copy. Now I'm going to come over. Oh, you probably didn't see that. Like I copied the native variables. Then I'm going to come over here, from that column and do paste special. And this time I'm going to do transpose again, and values, but now it's bringing it back the other way, right? See, remember how I filled these first ones in so they showed up here, but these other ones weren't. And so what I'll often do is in the data dictionary, I'll create a tab. Um, I'll create a tab that says headers. Um, at the end, the values tabs with all the pick lists and stuff. I'll create a tab that says headers, and all it has is that row at the top. That's it. It doesn't have anything else. And that way, when it's time to download the data after everybody's filled it in, then I can go just easily convert whatever it is to CSV, copy that in. And I've already got this data dictionary, and I've already designed some of the variables. Like I've written down which variables I want to make in R. I mean, I'm gonna keep adding to the data dictionary as I go. Um, Another thing I want to show you. Actually, let me go back to my spec, right? So you're building these documents as you go. So here's the spec we had originally. Remember how we're making field names for each of these things? So I just made a field name for this one, right? And I called it school none, right? Or no, this was none of the above was school none. Okay. Let's put that in a different highlight. And then I also did skill argui, right? And so that's this one over here. And you can make a little like kind of a legend that says, okay, the green is the field names or whatever that I'm picking. Um, and then you remember this one is just to choose one. So what did we do for that one? We did use now. So I could add that to the spec. So these are kind of living documents while you're doing this. Is you're keeping track of everything you're doing, especially if you have to change the survey or if you had to add something. Um, so the spec is being built now, um, and the data dictionary is being built, and so now you've got um, what have you done? You've done. I'm going back from the beginning. We did the spec in Word, then we built it in SurveyMonkey. Then we used the little browse and testing feature in SurveyMonkey, but after we finished that, we actually made a test collector and a live collector, but we haven't used the live collector yet. In the test collector, I filled in 2 fake people surveys based on like my customers, like what I think my customers would say. I wanted to make it realistic. Also, that's a good place if you've got a complicated skip pattern during that testing is a good place to make sure that's working. So now then I finalized the survey. I said everything is fine. So I downloaded the fake data I made and I just documented it. I didn't finish the data dictionary. I didn't finish the spec, but I just showed you what I would do to finish it. I'll have to finish it offline. Okay. So now we're going to go back and be like, okay, now is the time we're ready to actually deploy the survey. So I'm going to go back into SurveyMonkey and say, okay, we're all ready with the survey. The analyst downloaded the fake data. They said that the fake data is good. They can get it in R, so now we're going to go back. So I'm getting ready to deploy the survey. So I'm going to go back to the collectors and I'm just going to clear this collector. How you do it over here is you clear all responses, and it's going to give you, a message about it because they don't want you. Now here is live. So I'm going to copy live. And guess what? I just programmed a survey in front of you. I'm going to put live in the chat here. So this is a real survey. Go ahead and fill it out, okay? And I'm going to post it. I'll throw it all over the place here and there. It's such a short survey. That way I can get a better idea of what people want to know from my live streams. And for what I'm doing, maybe um, maybe it's just good enough for me to use this and just kind of watch. My survey has no responses, but just use this. I might not need to use R to analyze it. But I just wanted to show you this as all the steps from the very beginning to the very end when it comes to programming and deploying a survey, like designing one for online applications, survey applications, and then programming it in, testing it, and then deploying it. A lot of people don't realize there's like 100 steps, right? That I just showed you. And this is a little baby survey with no skips or anything. So if the next time you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need to do a research project, oh, I'll do a simple survey. Just remember, this is not simple, okay? If you do research right, it's usually not simple. Like this is the simplest little survey you'll ever see, and it wasn't simple. So research is like always a big project. It's like renovating parts of your house or something. Oh, it'll take an afternoon, and it won't take an afternoon. All right. But the main reason why I did this live stream was I did this live stream. Not a lot of people showed up, but that's okay. If you're watching this later and you got anything out of it and you now know how to do your surveys or whatever, thank you. I'm glad. Please like it and please put comments. Obviously, if I'm making a survey, I want feedback from people. And you might want to follow my channel or find my blog or whatever because I'm always giving tips and tricks about things like this. All right. And lately, my customers been asking that, so I thought maybe you guys would benefit from it. All right. Well, it's a Saturday afternoon, and thanks for hanging in there with me when the Survey Monkey crashed, but it came back and we can finish our lessons. Um, so have a nice weekend, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for showing up. Bye.